What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 5-star USC commit Makai Lemon and his route running. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it can give you some value. But also, fellas, we are going to be traveling out to 15 more states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So we're going to be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, New Orleans, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV area, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Texas, Seattle, Washington, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. So if you guys are local to one of those areas, we'd absolutely love to have you out to one of our camps. We are taking signups, so check out that very first link in the description below, fellas, if you want to come out and get some work in with us this off season. Let's get started with this video. So this first route here from Makai, I think he is a very, very explosive route runner, and I think he's one of the best route runners in this class. So we're going to be talking about this slant route versus inside shade press. So let's watch this full speed. So he does a great job of setting this DB up, accelerating to the outside, and then breaking back underneath to win on this route for a TD. So let's talk about this. So this comes down to my thing when you see these guys, these high-level guys like, USC commit, 5-star wide receiver, everybody automatically is like, oh, okay, well, are they really about it or are they just good in high school? He is very, very technical, and he emphasizes the details of his route running very, very well. So when we have an inside shade guy, why is he lined up inside shade? He's inside shade to take away the inside. He does not want us to run a slant. So when I actually have to run a route like a slant, my game plan can't be, oh, I'm just going to attack him and try to give him a fake outside, then go run a slant. That's not going to work against a disciplined DB. It might work against a bad DB, but I'm not trying to prepare you for that. I'm trying to prepare you for a DB who knows what he is doing and he is patient. So as a wide receiver, we can't rely on just, oh, I'm going to square him up and run past him. I have to attack his outside shoulder, something we call a diamond release, right? Like when you draw a diamond like on a piece of paper, obviously that like 45-degree angle right here, that's what we're talking about. It's a 45-degree angle right at his outside shoulder to sell what? To sell fade. So when Makai does this move, you see how he bursts. He accelerates to the outside. That's something a lot of people don't do on this diamond release. They'll come off the ball and they'll take these really choppy steps because it's easier to break when you use choppy steps. That's just plain and simple how it is. But that does not sell fade. A lot of times wide receivers get in bad habits because the way they break down is easy. You should be accelerating. You should be running full speed into your breaks because that is what will sell the fade. Now, when he also goes on this diamond release, watch what he does here with his body language. His hips and shoulders are committed to the fade. I can't tell you how many wide receivers will do this type of diamond release. They'll burst up, but right before they put the brakes on, their right shoulder, in this case, and their right hip, starts to turn early before their feet even get down. That telegraphs the move to a DB. A DB, a disciplined guy, is supposed to be watching where? Hips. He's supposed to be reading your body language. So if you give it away, he's going to be able to sit on it. That's why I think Makai is such a great route runner, because he doesn't have those little details that would get most guys locked up. He emphasizes the details that will get you separation. Now, another thing that he does, you see guys like Devontae Adams do this all the time. Gives a little peek back with his eyes to sell what? To sell fade. Another thing that looks like a fade. So he comes off the ball. Maybe we've done this release before. Maybe he's done this like kind of hezzy move and accelerated to the outside, and they've thrown a goal line fade. Now we come back to it, making this route look the exact same, but instead we put the brakes on a diamond release. I got that DB to open up his gate because I was a salesman with my speed, with my stride, with my eyes, and that is what can get me to win on this route. I would like to see him maybe accelerate out a little bit better right here, but that is textbook with that release, and that is exactly how you want to win on a slant route versus inside shade press. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. This is a great router from Lemon, and then we're going to get to another route from him at the Future 50 Bowl. Great job accelerating. Great job selling that 9 and winning on that slant route. All right, so now, next route we're looking at here is going to be a post-out route. So the main thing I want you to understand is guys that can play football at a very high level, Power 5 schools like USC, Alabama, Clemson, those type of schools, they're comfortable with their route running. They know how to get separation against different looks, and they're very comfortable with taking, like an inside release on an out route, an outside release on an in route. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about here. So let's play this full speed. So he's running this like post out, if you will. So when you're running like a post out or maybe some kind of like return, not so much a return route, but some kind of, so any route where you have to do a double move, for example, like post corner, out and up, whatever it is, you still have to treat it like it's an original route. Like it's like, this is like maybe like, let's say it's a post out. You still have to treat it like you're running a post. You still have to treat it like you're just running a straight up post against whatever coverage look they give you. You cannot change things up just because it's a double move. Now, on this specific route, I feel like any wide receiver would love an inside release here. Because if you take an inside release, this DB will be trailing you. You could break. He's over the top. Then you slip back out. It's easy money. Nobody wants to have this DB here running with you. You got to slip under him, and then you got to slip back. But we have to get comfortable with that because if they get a disciplined DB, he's going to take it away. This is the same look as that slant that we talked about. He's inside shade, so we're probably not going to get the inside release. We have to take what he gives me. So he bursts to the outside. This is exactly what we want to do. We keep things simple. We keep things the exact same. So if we can sell vertical, I can run hard and I have that inside shade look and I actually have to run a post or a dig. I can get that DB to open up the gate. And when we get him to open up the gate, I can easily slip underneath and get separation. If this was just a straight up in, straight up post route, he wins. If this is that double move, he wins because he made it look the exact same. Those little details of route running, fellas, understanding the releases that you need to take, going up to the line with a plan. If you want to be a high-level college football player or just a college football player in general and have some kind of success, you have to emphasize those things. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. That's a great job by Lemon, taking what the DB gives you. He's inside shade, don't force the inside release. If you try to, here's what would happen. If he's inside shade and let's say you try to give him a fake outside and try to cross his face, a disciplined guy will stay square and stay patient. He will get hands on you and reroute you. And even if you get into the route, you're going to be 5 yards too far inside. And in one-on-ones, everybody can look cool. But in a real game, that spacing 100% of the time matters, and we cannot screw up spacing on a specific play. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job taking the outside release, slipping underneath, selling that dig or selling that post, and then breaking back to the outside. Make sure, fellas, if that route is something that you guys have in your playbook, you know the right situation to do a release off of that. Like you want to do a release, obviously, if it's press, but that's a longer developing route, so we can't take too long because that might screw up the timing with the QB. All right, so this next clip I want to showcase here is just the smoothness at the top of the route that he has. So again, it comes down to the details, right? I think a lot of people talk about, the little things. I can't stand that word because the little things are not little. The little things matter. The little things are big things. And when it comes to route running, that's so true for all wide receivers because those little things are the difference between you getting locked up and you getting a lot of separation. So we're going to look at this break at the top of the route. He's going to be running this like comeback route where he snaps down and then is able to get out of that thing pretty smoothly. So mainly, we're going to be focusing on this like trigger step, if you will, and the steps after that. But one thing I want to tell you, fellas, that a lot of guys will neglect top of the route work. They love to do the releases, the fancy stuff off the line. They interviewed, I forget who it was, but I think it was Nick Saban. And they asked him like, hey, you had a lot of great wide receivers, come through Alabama. Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Julio Jones, name a few. And he asked him, we look for smoothness in and smoothness out of the breaks. And that's something that I think is really true because at the next level, like everybody's fast, right? If you want to play college football, like speed is one of those things. Like I love it whenever I talk about college receivers and everybody's like, oh, you got to be fast. It's like, yeah, dude, everybody on the field is fast. So how are you going to separate yourself? Maybe if you're not the fastest guy, but how are you going to separate yourself if you're the fastest guy? And that comes down to your route running. So when he goes to make this break, check out the details of this movement. So when he snaps down, everybody knows that when you guys are running this route, we don't want to beat the drum. We don't want to take all these choppy steps. We could get out of a break faster. At the end of the day, when it comes down to route running, you got to be able to sell vertical, you got to be able to cut on a dime, and you have to be able to accelerate. And snapping down, not beating the drum, is a way to do that. Because if you got a DB who's running right next to you, and you start to break down and you take all these choppy steps and you start pumping your arms overly excessively fast, that's just adding wasted motion to the movement. We want smoothness in and out of the break to get separation. So when he goes to make this break, he uses something called a trigger step. A trigger step is that step that like will drop your hips. That's that like snap down step, if you will. So if you're running a route and let's say maybe it's like a 15 back to 12 yard comeback, at 15, that might be like your fourth inside step. So your fourth inside step would be the trigger step. So like, let's say, for example, let's count his steps here. How many steps is this? So that's his first inside. That's his second inside. And then the third inside is the trigger step. So his third inside step. So this is probably like a 10 back to 8 yard comeback, if you will. So when he snaps down on that third inside, it's about being violent with your hips, bringing your chin to your knee. This is the position that you need to get to be able to decelerate. Now, this is where the details element comes into play. Because a lot of guys can snap down, but after that, they kill themselves. To get back on this 45, to run this comeback, my second step after my trigger step, I need to pivot. Now you see how he pivots that step. What does that do? That pivot step starts to get his hips turned. So now when he pivots, that third step can hook back around and he can drive off of that third step to get him out of there. But that does not happen if he does not have that trigger step. If he does not get low and he tries to do this, like let's say he steps super hard, but there's no level change, he's not dropping his hips, and he tries to pivot and he tries to hook, he's gonna take all these extra steps right here, which gives the DB extra time to drive on the ball. So those little details, fellas, is what will get you open. You being able to snap and get low, you being able to pivot, hook while you're low to be able to accelerate out of the break. That is what's going to get you separation, those minor details, fellas. The little things are not little. Because when you guys are selling vertical, it is very, very hard to change direction on a dime. When you're running hard, when you're running full speed. If you're jogging, it's very easy. But when you're actually selling vertical, when you're trying to get a DB to open up his hips, when you're trying to get a DB to backpedal, and you have to cut on a dime, you have to emphasize getting low. Like you're dropping under a small door, we have to stay low because now I could use that explosion that I created and turn it into acceleration to get me out of the break and to win the race. Because in this case, you're going to have a DB right here, breaking as hard as he can on the ball, knowing he got beat. But if I didn't give him any extra steps, extra wasted time, and I'm actually accelerating, he cannot win. The DB will always be at the disadvantage if you can emphasize those three phases of the route. Selling fade, dropping your hips, and accelerating. And Makai does all three of those, and there's a good example to showcase that. I know this is just a drill. I know this is not a live game situation, but you have to practice these things when you're in drill work if you want to apply it to a real game. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, we are traveling out to 15 states this offseason, 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. We are now taking signups for these specific camps. So check out that very first link below if interested, fellas. I'll see you guys next time.